This question is playing around with the concept of comparisons, and this might seem super easy or super tricky depending on how you look at it. The main problem with this question is that the underlying portion is so small, and if that's the case, test takers usually tend to substitute the answer choices into the underlying portion and give the construction a read. And in such comparative constructions, this usually would be a confusing way to go about it because any of these answer choices might actually sound appropriate. So let's attack this question by keeping certain things about comparisons in mind. Number one, compared items must be logically and grammatically similar. Comparative constructions must be appropriate, and these comparative constructions usually follow the rules of parallelism. So from the sentence, we can see that these newspapers had lower circulation in the 6 months than a similar period a year earlier. And when you take a vertical scan through the answer choices, we can notice some subtle differences. A reads a similar period, B reads a periods in the possessive form, and C introduces this preposition, and D and E use the pronoun that, and the that is obviously referring back to the noun circulation. So the circulation in a period or a circulation of a period. Now, answer choices D and E are exactly the type of choices that could be very misleading because one look at the question and the test taker might think that it's the circulation that's being compared. So obviously we need to compare that with the circulation if we follow the first rule of comparisons. But please don't get that hasty to decide. Let's understand exactly how these comparative constructions would work by following the rules of parallelism. So let me give you some simple examples here so that you can relate to how these comparative constructions need to be. So now look at these four sentences and see exactly how the comparisons are being done and how the parallelism has come into play. So the circulation in this period, put as a prepositional phrase, was better than that in another period. So the that pronoun is referring to the circulation, and this has also been put in a prepositional phrase form. So this prepositional phrase is parallel to that prepositional phrase. Now here we're writing this in possessive form. This period's circulation was better than another period's circulation. We don't have to mention the word circulation here because it's understood. So this is perfect parallel construction as well. Now number three, this period had better circulation than that period. Now, when compared with the constructions in 1 and 2, we can see that the word circulation is actually being introduced between this comparative phrase. So when that's done, we don't need to mention the word circulation here outside the comparative phrase. So we don't, for example, need to say this period had better circulation than the circulation in that period. That would be absolutely inappropriate. So we just need to say this period and that period. And in a similar way, the circulation is once again being put inside this comparative phrase better than, but here we're reconstructing this as there was better circulation in this period than in that period. So just as I said in example 3 that we do not need to mention the circulation here outside this comparative phrase, in the fourth sentence as well, we shouldn't be mentioning the word circulation outside the comparative phrase because it's already inside. And it indicates that that is exactly what is being compared. So what should be parallelly constructed are these prepositional phrases in this period and in that period. So now if we look at the non-underlined portion, we have a similar construction to that in the example 4, that there was lower circulation in the 6 months. So the only thing that would be perfect comparison and perfect parallelism would be to use a similar phrase like this prepositional phrase. And that's present in answer choice C. So that is a right answer. So in the original construction, the mistake is that it is omitting this preposition, because if it omits the preposition, then the parallelism is broken, A goes off. Now in B, the problem is that it is using this possessive form. That possessive form would only have been appropriate if the construction of to were followed, that this period's circulation was better than another period's circulation. But that's not what we find in the non-underlined portion, so B goes off. Now D and E's construction would only have worked if it followed the construction of the first sentence, that the circulation in this period was better than the circulation in another period. So the main difference is that this prepositional phrase lies outside the comparative phrase, whereas in the original sentence we can notice that this prepositional phrase, circulation in the 6 months, is within the comparative phrase. So only if this had occurred outside the comparative phrase would D and E have been appropriate. So D goes off and E goes off. C is a right answer.